All right, thanks everyone, and hello, and welcome to Achieve Business Objectives with Data-Driven Observability. So just a quick few housekeeping items here before we get started. So when you joined today's webinar, you selected join either by phone or by your computer audio. So if for any reason you would like to change your selection, you can do so by selecting your audio in the audio pane of the control panel. Also, from this control panel, you will have an opportunity to submit questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the questions pane. We will collect these questions and we will address them during our Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And if we're not able to get to your question, we do plan on responding to each of you personally through email. The recording of this webinar will be available 2 to 3 days after the conclusion of this presentation, so please keep an eye out for that email. Again, thank you. My name is Danielle Greshak, and I'm head of Partner SA Solutions Architecture for America's ISV at AWS, and I will be your host and moderator for today's webinar. So a quick agenda for today. In addition to my session on digital transformation, we will also hear from Bruno Kurtic, founding VP of Product Strategy from Sumo Logic, and Andy Makings, who is the head of DevSecOps at Snoop. So first and foremost, I'd like to turn it over to Bruno to do a quick introduction on Sumo Logic.
Sure, thank you, Danielle. My name is Bruno Kurtic. I'm a founding VP of Strategy and Solutions at Sumo. Sumo Logic is a continuous intelligence platform. We help our customers manage and secure their mission-critical properties and workloads, digital services that serve their customers and oftentimes generate revenue. We do this by collecting telemetry generated by those applications and those workloads across logs, metrics, traces, metadata. This is collectively what we refer to as machine data. And then we turn those into real-time insights for operations teams, security teams, and business teams alike. So the SRE, Devops, and IT teams leverage Sumo to monitor and troubleshoot their applications and infrastructure in order to improve customer experience. SOC and DevSecOps teams leverage Sumo to secure their application workloads, to secure the infrastructure, to ensure compliance. And business teams like product management, finance, sales teams leverage Sumo to understand customer behavior, product behavior, cost optimizations, and things like that. We are ourselves a 100% cloud native. We run all of our workload in AWS across many regions around the world. We are a multi-tenant SaaS service, which is delivered to our customers in that form factor. And the company is about 10 years old, and we've gotten a lot of experience on how to run a large-scale workload in AWS. And we're a public company today and have about 2,000 plus enterprise customers around the world.
Awesome. Andy, would you like to introduce yourself and Snoop?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Danielle. Hi, Andy Makins from Snoop, head of DevSecOps. Bit about Snoop. Snoop is a UK-based fintech which was founded in April 2019, and it launched to the public in April 2020, so a very quick build time. It's a mobile app designed to save money, customers' money, and to help them get control of their data from the large banks. So we use data science and human intelligence to personalize insights and snoops for customers so that they can spend smarter, save smarter, and live smarter. So it gives you insights into how, based on the transactions that we see in your data feed, how we can provide money saving ideas or tips, or savings tips, or switching opportunities so you can save some money or get a better deal.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about digital transformation at AWS and some best practices that we've seen work well when it comes to cloud migration. So first and foremost, when we talk to our customers and partners about cloud transformation, we talk to them about modern application development. So for us, we really believe that automating and abstracting as much away as possible from what we consider the differentiated heavy lifting of managing infrastructure is super important so that customers can actually focus on building their core applications that really benefit their business. And so we talk a lot about virtuous cycles at AWS. And this flywheel is one of those in which, our customers who might have ideas can actually go forth and experiment, and they can get that feedback and they can quickly innovate on those ideas and continue faster development and time to value. And so really monitoring and products like Sumo Logic are key to being able to optimize that user experience. So really the faster that you're able to identify issues, the sooner you can actually get them resolved. And so it's not really just monitoring metrics, but really being able to monitor, or to debug, to properly alert, and actually to have application visibility across all of your environments. And this allows you to have this real-time insights, and that's really what we consider to be true observability across your entire stack. So again, at AWS, we very much focus on the security of the cloud. So AWS is responsible for protecting that infrastructure that runs any AWS service. But customers need to be responsible for the services and products and applications that they build in the cloud, and that they use AWS cloud products in order to build, and that customers might select. So this is a pretty common, thing that we talk to all of our customers about. And again, products such as Sumo Logic help in this shared security model to have that full visibility. All right, so again, Bruno, what kind of obstacles do you see that are really stop customers from being able to see that digital success with our customers' journey into the cloud? What are some challenges that you see?
Sure. Thanks, Danielle. I think actually I almost want to talk about it as what are the opportunities, right?
Yeah.
As people migrate to the cloud and become digital companies. Look, I think software has eaten the world, to use that phrase. When companies adopt digital business models, they effectively become software companies. We live in the age when heavy manufacturing companies have more software developers on staff than mechanical engineers. And as you kind of move through this transformation, you realize that you can no longer compete and differentiate your products and technologies in a digital mode with off-the-shelf software, with ERPs, CRMs, and other technologies alone, right? Because everybody has those. So what happens as you become a digital company, you realize that you need to adapt your software and build software that's finely tuned to your business model so that you can be better than your competitors in your industry. Yeah. And so what happens is, as companies then become those software companies, in order to really do that right, I think, in my opinion, they go through multiple transformations, which are oftentimes challenging to address sort of what people sometimes struggle with. They need to transform their technology and how they leverage and build technology. They are moving from a traditional waterfall software development model into an agile DevOps model, which essentially enables them to accelerate the rate of innovation, right? The waterfall model where you deploy software once every 18 to 24 months is just not fast enough in digital world. Like, you want products and services available to customers right away, as quickly as possible to respond to market demand. You move from on-premise to the cloud. Why to the cloud? Well, because agile software development gives you extreme flexibility and high rate of iteration on your software. Well, guess what? When that happens, you also need to be able to do that with your hardware. You can't run your software that constantly evolves on the same old hardware that you ran 3 years ago. So cloud is all about flexibility and agility as well. It's not just about cost. It is much more about being able to be a more effective digital business. And then you also, more likely than not, are going to re-architect your applications to leverage these properties of the cloud to give you speed, resiliency, scalability, and other things as well. Then you actually have to look at data, right? Digital companies have an opportunity to consume the signals that are generated by their customer interface, which is their software, and really understand what it's telling them, be able to leverage this data. This data is really, really high scale. It is machine data, so it's governed by Moore's law, which means that it's exponential. It is real time. The faster you can understand what it's telling you, the better you can respond. And it is oftentimes unstructured because, you know, this data is generated by your software. Your software is generated by your developers. Nobody tells your developers how to, you know, create these data sets. They just basically put all this data into the code and it comes to production, and you better be able to understand what it's telling you, right? And then with that, you have to also think about your economics. If you're having to understand your business through data that is growing exponentially, then you have to think about, you know, how do you get value from it? Like, there is a deluge of data. You have to figure out how to be economical, how to get the right ROI. You have to figure out how to make it still predictable, even though your business is highly likely to be much less predictable. And you need to still keep the flexibility that you've always wanted to make those decisions, right? And all of this requires a tremendous amount of people, process, and culture changes, you know, to leverage. Right? You're probably going to need to, and maybe sometimes struggle in breaking down the walls, building cross-functional teams, you know, blurring the barriers, using tools and technologies that enable you to collaborate across these teams better, rather than, you know, being stuck with these siloed tools that people leveraged in the past. So that's kind of what I think enterprises have to go through and sometimes struggle with.
Awesome. And so, you know, you touched a bit on the culture and the people aspect of this. And, you know, one of the things that at AWS we've heard quite a bit from Amazon's journey from monolith into microservices is, you know, the company really adopted this, you know, if you build it, you run it mantra across the board. And monitoring and observability has been a key aspect of that. And it actually was a very difficult culture change. So Andy, if I can turn it over to you, if you want to talk a little bit about the journey that Snoop has had, can you talk to me a little bit about how your service is architected on AWS?
Yeah, of course, Danielle. So I guess the first thing to say is obviously we're a startup, so we have a blank piece of paper, so that makes it a hell of a lot easier to start from scratch and do things how you want to. My background is banking and insurance, so in heavily compliant infrastructures. So where there's lots of legacy, it's obviously a lot harder. So our architecture is all in AWS, all multi-availability zone as you'd expect these days for reliability. And it's a mobile app, so we make extensive use of API Gateway, and we make extensive use of ECS. We've got a mandate as a tech team that we don't really want to host any servers, so we don't want to host any EC2 because we don't want to patch them. And we're a very small team, so that management overhead would take a lot of time for us. So we've got no EC2 at the moment, which we're quite proud of. And we make use of a lot of containerization. We make use of Fargate, so we haven't got to manage compute. We make use of a lot of Lambda and SQS patterns to decouple the transaction flows across the estate. Obviously, the whole environment is much more complicated than this, but if you think what we're doing, we're ingesting transaction data from our partner OpenWorks, which is an open banking partner in the UK. So the customer signs up to us, they then go through the OpenWorks flows to allow us to access their transactional data from credit cards or bank accounts that they've got connected, and allow us to have that read-only consent. We then ingest that data via OpenWorks and API from OpenWorks, and then we push it through DynamoDB into via various ETL tools, mainly done in Lambda and things like that, into a backend Postgres Aurora database, and it streams it through via Kinesis Data Firehose. And then at the back end, there's because what we're trying to do is not just money management. So obviously you can see your money management across all your accounts and credit cards in one place on the mobile app. We're also giving you the benefits of Snoop, so these little snippets of information that can save you money or help you manage your finances. So there's a big data science recommendation engine at the back end on ECS and Lambda that manages that for us and then provides that feed of Snoop's personalized feed to each customer as they log into the app.
So Andy, I see some areas in this architecture in which you have a lot of reliability just built in. So can you talk a little bit about what your customers expect from you with regards to the reliability of your applications?
Yeah, I mean, obviously mobile, everyone expects it just to work these days, don't they? They don't want any downtime, they don't want any maintenance, they want to go in all hours of the day. And we see from looking at the logs and the observability that people will log in and check their finances at very odd times of the morning, regardless of what you think they might do as a pattern of access.
Yeah, and how do services such as Kinesis or Lambda or perhaps Sumo help you with that reliability? If you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. We make sure, obviously, when we're building things that we use IAC. So we make use of Terraform, CloudFormation, to make sure that we can be repeatable in all the environments. Because obviously that shift left approach gives you a really nice way of seeing early issues, and it helps by the time you get to prod to make sure that the reliability is there and you know what to expect when you do that deployment into prod. Heavily use of CI/CD. We make heavy use of AWS services, so that you guys have tested a lot of those services. We don't need to. So all the managed services we make use of, like RDS, those Lambda stacks, the API gateway. We know we haven't got to worry too much about reliability of those. We just need to make sure that we know that they're functioning correctly, which is of course what Sumo helps us do.
Cool. So why don't I move on to the next slide actually and talk a little bit about this. We talked about observability. So what does end-to-end observability really mean to you in this application? So being able to respond to each of these availability, performance, and security pieces.
Sure. So I'll cover that. So this is really, when we talk about observability, I actually don't love the topic of talking about observability because I believe that observability really is a means to an end. It's not the end. What the actual goal is the best-in-class customer experience for all these digital companies like Snoop and companies like Sumo Logic and many others, right? Is what we're trying to do is serve our customers in the most delightful way. And I think the fundamental bedrock of that is reliability. And reliability oftentimes is thought of as availability and performance, but we believe that reliability is actually availability, performance, and security. Because if your customers can't access the application, it's not reliable. They're having a bad experience. If it's not performing well, it's not reliable. They're having a bad experience. If you're getting DDoSed and they can't access it, or you're leaking their data to some nefarious hackers out there, it's not reliable. All of these things are really important as you build your applications and serve your customers to give them the most delightful experience. And that's what's important today. In a digital world, customers have choice, and they want to make sure that they use and get what they expect from these applications. If you don't mind going to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about what is observability, right? Observability really is a data-driven approach to monitoring, diagnosing, and troubleshooting complex application workloads. It is a data-driven approach, and it requires pretty powerful analytical technologies and techniques, because the observability at its core is supposed to enable the observer, and the observer is typically a person taking care of the application and some tools that they use to take care of the application. It enables the observer to understand the behavior of the application. And what's really core here is that the observer should be able to observe, detect, and explain behaviors they've never seen in the past, right? We call these unknown unknowns, right? So in a distributed complex application, this can no longer be done with traditional monitoring approaches or siloed analytics tools that have been used in the past, because of the complexity of the cloud workload, distributed microservices workloads, and so on. What is required, I think, to do this effectively today is that you combine all of the telemetry, all of the bits of data that can explain and detect these behaviors into a single platform, that a system then can take the analytical approach to correlating across these signals and explain them. And that means that you will be able to analyze all of your data types, no matter what they are, whether they're logs, metrics, traces, whatever it might be able to do analysis across structured and unstructured data. And this is really key, and people oftentimes kind of ignore this, but structured and unstructured data is really important because in the agile development world, where you push code to production every hour, every minute, you have to be able to take the data that's been put into production half an hour ago with your new code push, which might have actually caused an outage, and be able to do as powerful analytics on it as you would if you knew everything about this data. So really being able to do analytics on a schema-less data is really, really important, and ultimately leveraging machine learning and advanced analytics to really help guide the user from an alert that says something's wrong to a root cause that basically explains what is wrong, why it's wrong, and how to fix it.
Okay, so essentially a flexible platform that is able to detect changes in a fast-changing environment is key then.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so great. So Andy, can you just describe to me how you manage the health and reliability of the service that you run?
Yes, of course. As I already mentioned, we make use of automation a lot. We build features with infrastructure as code, so we shift left and see issues early. We send everything to Sumo Logic, so all logs, all metrics, soon to be tracing as well. We'll talk about that later. And we also send all other SaaS logs that we have to Sumo Logic, so we get that full picture that Bruno was talking about, that you need the full visibility of everything that's ingested. Why do we do that? We have to see with the fast-moving cloud what has been created. We've got auto scaling everywhere. We've got event-based, event-driven architectures. We've got self-healing architectures from failure with things like service meshes and app mesh. We've got cross availability zone messaging with SQS. So we need to know instantly what's happening in real time, and we need to have that observability across everything.
Okay. How about, what are some of the ways in which you monitor, what are some key things that you monitor, and how do you actually respond to events?
Yeah, so we as I say, push everything to Sumo Logic. We make use of the new observability tools. This is the front screen for observability and events of interest. So what you can see now from the new tools compared to the old tools that we used to use, you used to have dashboards for, say, things like each AWS service. So if you were looking for an issue, you'd have to go to each one. Whereas as now with Sumo Logic and the AWS observability, this is what we see, and the data science model backing this has done a lot of the heavy lifting for us. It's looked at all the logs, all the metrics. It's looked at what's normal for this environment and this account, and it's placed it all on this dashboard.
Okay. And so this allows you, again, to delve into some of the application issues. So, what does the new reality for customers of yours running in production, what are some of the things that you end up seeing in these dashboards that really help you to monitor your environment?
Yeah, so that observability and that you're bubbling to the surface, the issues that we should be looking at saves obviously a lot of time and a lot of swapping dashboards and swapping screens and logs to see where you need to look. With all these dashboards, you can delve into visibility of app issues. So this one's a 403 error, which is just a call from the mobile app that's not. These are real errors, by the way. This is a call from the mobile app that we spotted that we've just been coded wrong in the past. So it's getting a 403. We've seen a lot of 504s, and they get bubbled up really easily, and then you can delve into the issue directly. Gets rid of a lot of the noise that it's self-learning as well, so it will learn if something turns into normal. So you get some time to look at it, and then it will decide it's normal.
Yeah, and so then these metrics and logs dashboards, how do they help you respond to items? Yeah,
so once you've delved into the initial issues, you can then jump into the actual metrics underneath them and see where the problems are, and then you can do the log searches as you normally would to find the detail or the metric searches. It's all around just being able to show you everything that you need to see really quickly and really easily, and delving into the root causes. We've seen issues around things we wouldn't have necessarily seen before, which is it's really hard to see things like latency. So on-demand services, and the latency and how long that takes, and making sure that your apps have got the back off and retry logic that they need to stop errors as they're running and as they're scaling. And what you can see from here is you get the grouping. So you've got the context and the grouping. As you delve through into the incident and the issues, you can see the context of date and time are kept. So the time window where the issue was held will be kept as you jump around the screens and delve deeper into the filters to get the issue sorted.
Okay.
And then eventually you either end up, if you want to, these sort of standard dashboards, I call them, but they're new and they look really nice and they're useful. You can look at these and say, okay, well, this is what we're doing at an infrastructure level, and you can do the same for logs, and then all of these panels, you can then customize any of the dashboards or the data behind them, as well as alerting off the back of those as well.
All right, great. So just before we move on, Andy, if you can just talk to me a little bit about, what are some of the some advice would you give enterprises that are in the process of moving their digital services to AWS and, re-architecting just as far as managing reliability? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I guess from my experience with AWS, mostly about 10 years now, I guess, and over 30 of IT in general, I'd say specifically for AWS, read the AWS well-architected framework. There's really good resources in there to help you architect something correctly, and not just for technical teams as well. The whole, one of the things we do at Snoop is we force the whole tech team and some of the business leaders to make sure they've read them and signed off to say they've read them, because it does help with a lot of the other pillars of the well-architected framework around reliability and cost and all the other things, to make sure they've read them. Excuse me. The other thing I'd say, make use of the AWS online tech talks, especially the more advanced ones, the 300 and 400 levels, because they can really give you a deep dive into a technical service. So, the deep dives into DynamoDB and things like that are really, really good.
Awesome.
Other stuff, I'd use as many AWS services as you can, managed services, because the heavy lifting is done for you, as we talked about earlier, and the auto scaling and the reliability is there, and the security mapping around it is as well. Make use of IAC. Think about CI/CD and deploying of software and how you'd manage Git repos and merging and versioning across everything really early in the design and upfront. Make sure you've done that.
So I was going to say, what you're speaking to a little bit is actually just a way to change the culture of delivery in software.
Yeah, definitely. And just remember that if you are truly doing DevOps and Agile and shift left, then you need to make sure that realistically dev is going to emotionally take longer to build than test and prod, because it should just be an automated process from then on. And a lot of people forget that. A lot of product owners forget that we need more time in dev to make sure everything's done, including monitoring, logging, alerting, the whole lot that needs to be done up front.
Yeah, unit testing, everything, right?
Everything. Yeah.
Okay. So Bruno, we know that monitoring production is central to delivering a reliable digital service. So, let's shift left a bit, as Andy just mentioned. So how does software development process impact reliability?
Yeah, it's really an interesting topic. I think most people do think, and rightfully so, that the production concern, the reliability is mostly a production concern, right? And but it isn't quite the only production concern. And in fact, maybe it's evolving to not even be the major production concern, but it's actually much more broad. Your software development process, has almost as much impact on how reliable your digital services are as being able to really manage it well in production. Devops Research and Assessment Group, acquired recently by Google, publishes key KPIs for a software development process. That there are 4 core KPIs. They're on the screen here. They're called the DORA metrics. And they are the two of them, the two top ones, deployment frequency and lead time, are measures of agility. The next two, mean time to recover and change failure rate, are really a reliability measure. So if you think about it, what does that mean? That means that half of the key performance indicators of your software development process is about reliability. And why that is? That's because, if you just unpack these two measures, change failure rate essentially tells you how often do you introduce changes into production that break production or impact production in a negative way. And then mean time to recover is essentially a way of stating, once you've messed up and put something into production that breaks it, how fast is the software development process that will actually be able to remediate it? Essentially, go back to fixing the code and then running it through its pipeline to get it and changing it in production, right? That's really important. And they've also benchmarked and published sort of what best-in-class companies achieve. And those are here on this slide as well. And if you think about what this means, mean time to recover, the best-in-class are 2,600 times better at doing that than traditional. So, software development is one of the largest expenses for a digital company, right? Many of the digital enterprises have hundreds and hundreds of developers working on this. And just think about what it might mean to improve the process by being able to monitor it step by step, just like you're monitoring your application, monitoring your access to Jira and GitHub and Jenkins builds and other things and how the code flows, being able to monitor it, understand how well it's working, figuring out where there are issues and challenges and breakages, being able to optimize those, look at one team versus another, one application versus another, and being able to optimize that. Imagine how much that can deliver in both reliability and also efficiency of that really large expense for a digital company, like because digital companies are software companies, right?
Yep.
And so I think that is an important aspect of what I think enterprises need to think about, because I think they can get much better outcomes downstream from the process.
Right. So Andy, can you talk to me a little bit about how Snoop is managing their software delivery pipeline, and what are some of the improvements and adjustments that you've made over time, and that you're planning to make going forward?
Yeah, of course. So we make use of various SaaS products to deliver our CI/CD pipeline: Jira, CI, Bitbucket, Terraform Cloud for the IAC pipelines. I guess being a startup and the fast pace that we've had, from April, we've now got 85,000 customers, for instance. We release 2-week sprints, so we are relatively small, but we're about to grow. So I think it's important at this stage of our life cycle that we now put the building blocks in place to really grow and have multiple sprint teams, and making sure everything that's done is done the same way, and that the product owners can see the information they need to straight away. So we've been using Sumo Logic's SDO product, the software development optimization product. We've been in the beta for that, and it's really just starting to prove how, I guess, we've got some gaps in things like quality of Jira tickets and the metadata within them. So as most people know, sometimes time is tight and you deliver the feature, but you haven't exactly filled in the ticket properly. And we all know that happens. So I'm happy to hold my hand up and say that happens. So I think that's highlighted that just from the beta, that we need to put more metadata in the tickets and spend more time. What it's also highlighted is, like Bruno said, you can start tracking how long it takes to close tickets, how long it takes to review PRs, pull requests. You can look at the whole life cycle and go, okay, if we focus a little bit on here, we can really save time and money by delivering this quicker, and making sure that the developers have got more time and the product owners have got more time to do what they should be doing, which is obviously building more business features. And I think what we've also seen is, it's great seeing it in one place. So we've got the dashboards already from Sumo Logic for those products. So we've got the Circle CI dashboard, we've got the Bitbucket dashboard, but of course they're all in individual places. Whereas this just joins all those into one visibility area, and you can just see everything you need to and act on it straight away. And then the next phase of that work, once we've got the metadata correct and we're happy with how it's working, we're going to roll out to the product owners and the business leaders, and the sprint teams themselves, so that they can get the benefit of the tool. So I think we've mostly been a bit, not deliberately naive, but we've been a bit slow to provide Sumo to the business, and I think now is the time where the model's a bit more mature, that we can really share it with everyone and everyone can use it and get the benefit of it.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to move just to the next slide quickly here. So again, we've seen that Andy, you've told us a bit about how some traditional tools have really struggled to provide you all of the things that you need in order to have that full observability. And, things such as a scalable price model, automation, and easy dashboards have definitely been what has been missing, and things that you've been able to build into your new environment with AWS and with Sumo. So, I'd like to just kind of, in closing, talk a little bit about AWS's perspective on the software delivery process. First and foremost, again, we go back to that: if you build it, you run it, and having that observability across your entire stack is really key to be able to do that. And again, we do try to talk about building microservices, failing fast, and being able to properly experiment and then pull back when you need to, but then also, scale if something takes off, which, we talk about also being able to go global in minutes, which is something that you can do in conjunction with both AWS and Sumo. So Bruno, if I can turn it back over to you to kind of summarize.
Sure. It was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it. I think ultimately, as enterprises, if you are sort of migrating, building digital services, and you obviously expect them to deliver it for your customers, I think running them on AWS provides you with the flexibility to access fast evolving technology stack, infrastructure, application services, to really sort of not be concerned with doing all this differentiated heavy lifting yourself, or undifferentiated if you are in a business that's not IT. And then, adopting the modern approach to monitoring, diagnostic, and troubleshooting and security through observability, and this data-driven approach will enable you to continue to manage and improve those workloads, to have a real-time view into what's happening, to be able to continuously manage your customer experience. And I hope that through some of these examples that you heard from Andy and Snoop, that you've been able to pick up some tips to adopt on your own journeys as you move into AWS workloads and adopting observability. And fundamentally, ultimately, if you are interested in taking a look at some of the actual concrete tools that Andy has been using, on sumologic.com, you can take a look at them and trial them, as well as various other technologies, obviously, in AWS. So I think that would be it from my perspective.
All right, great. So we're now actually going to transition to our live Q&A. And just so as a reminder, you'll be able to submit any written questions through the questions panel inside of GoToWebinar. And in the event that we're actually not able to answer your questions today, we will follow up with each one of you individually via email. So let's see here. Give a couple minutes for questions. Okay, so Bruno, you mentioned that you've been at Sumo for 10 years, actually since day one as a founder. So what have you experienced and seen, and can you talk to us about some of the insights that, how customers are responding to digital transformations and digital priorities with COVID right now?
Yeah, that's a broad question.
Yeah.
Lots of trends there in terms of sort of what's been happening in the technology space, right? Some of the most interesting things these days is that we have a practice that we run on an annual basis called the Continuous Intelligence Report. We actually publish a lot of insights about how enterprises are adopting. It's all about trends. It's to help customers understand, like, people who are moving, who are kind of like a little slower, maybe trying to adopt these technologies, so they can see what are people who have gone there ahead of us, what are they adopting, what are the best practices, what technologies do they use. And over the last 5 years, we've been running this report that's available on our website. But basically, what we found is that in the last couple of years, the adoption of microservices technologies, Kubernetes, containerization, serverless functions is really been skyrocketing, right? And I think, as this sort of architectural paradigm matures, what we're seeing is that companies are leveraging more cloud-native architecture, cloud-friendly architectures to really gain the benefits of running their technologies in the cloud, right? Yes, you can run a 3-tier application in the cloud for sure, right? And you get benefits. But if you architect it for the cloud, you really get to start leveraging all of the sort of the promise of the cloud workloads, right? And in terms of COVID, that was really fascinating. We are actually just completing this year's continuous intelligence report, and we actually took an COVID angle to it. And I cannot talk about it because I'm under embargo in details, but I really encourage you to come in the next few weeks to our site to take a look at the report. But we have definitely seen that, I'll tell you that the adoption of cloud technologies and digital services is not slowing down. And in fact, COVID has actually created a discontinuity to digital transformation, because, when we all got locked down and couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go to stores, couldn't do anything, what did we do? We ended up looking for our entertainment online, shopping online, doing everything online. And essentially companies that were digital ready actually benefited from COVID. And it's really interesting how that's driving the technology transformation as well.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this next question, Bruno, same one to you as well, simply because it's a good segue just kind of on what you talked about. So, what do you see as, some top digital trends that are going to reshape business? So you talked a little bit about containers, but also, what do you think about AI and ML in the context of observability and security to enable migration and modernization?
Sure, 10 years ago, we founded Sumo Logic in order to cope with two things. One is the exponential growth in data, and the fact that that data had a really high rate of change. And so machine learning was always, in our minds, an answer to many of these problems. And the way that we think about machine learning essentially helps us bend the exponential curve of growth of machine data. If you have, no matter how smart of a human and what type of a query engine behind the keyboard they have, right, the getting to insights in an exponentially growing world is going to be hard. And so we thought that we can help the operators and people concerned with these data sets by applying advanced analytics, machine learning for pattern extraction to essentially to reduce the noise, identify key unknown unknowns, to identify key trends, to surface that to the end user in order to help the end user short circuit that analysis. And I would say that machine learning alone and AI is not the answer. It is always going to be a combination of a human and a machine. And so we believe that applied machine learning and artificial intelligence in combination with the expertise of a human is the answer. And that's how we've been designing our services.
Okay, and so Andy, if I can turn to you, so what are some three tips that you could think of about organizations that actually have not yet embarked on this data-driven approach or this digital transformation? What do you think are ways in which these companies can kind of move forward?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'd say is don't be scared. Embrace the flexibility of the cloud and these tools. The whole idea is you want to build things quickly and fail fast. You want to constantly switch technologies, switch services. As we've seen from Devops methods, you're getting feature changes coming in every 2-3 weeks, even for AWS services. So you've always got to keep in constant a constant view of replacing or refreshing what you've done already. This whole cycle of making it better all the time, continuous improvement it used to be called, but it's key to success, I think. The other thing I'd say is organizational change. The shift to DevOps is complicated if you've got a siloed approach to teams, and a lot of traditional businesses have. And I think you really do have to break those silos down, blur the edges of those teams, and make sure people want to learn new stuff, and also work in a different way. You know, quite a lot of people don't like standing up every morning and say, well, they haven't done yesterday's work yet. You know, it's quite hard sometimes to do that. But I think it's key to be open and honest about that and embrace it. And I think the benefit from my point of view on that side is if you are automating things and making sure you've done it right, yeah, there's no better feeling when a prod release gets automated and pushed through CI/CD and you've got no stress whatsoever about the production release because you've already done most of the work and you know it's okay because you've had the visibility and the tools to do it. Yeah, and I guess the last thing is make sure you pick the right tools. Make sure you get tools that work well together. As we've seen, you know, Sumo Logic is joining together data from lots of different tools, yeah, and getting insight and intellect out of it that really is really hard to do manually. So make sure you get your tools right. Make sure they can link together, and make sure that the business is involved in how to use them.
Okay, so it sounds like don't be afraid, get the right tool for the job, and focus on the culture change.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. Okay. All right. So, what are some pitfalls that you've encountered in your observability requirements? It sounds like, as a financial services application, you have some regulatory standards that you have to worry about. So how have you aligned that for your software development process?
Yeah, we were FCA regulated, so not as regulated as a bank, but obviously regulated for the open banking standard. So we have to. We've got compliance reporting to do. We use Sumo for a lot of that security, event logging, CloudTrail visibility, etc., and automated alerting. I'd say, remember when you use any of these tools that you've got to put effort into them as well. Yeah, they can't do everything for you. You've got to make sure that you pick something that is relatively easy to learn and also comes out of the box with a lot of integrations so that you can use the best practice dashboards to then tweak searches for your use case. And a lot of tools don't do that. A lot of them are hard to learn, or they just don't help you accelerate what you need to do. And then find the tools and things that do everything. As we talked about, you need logs, you need metrics, you need tracing. Yeah, if you can find a tool to do all of them, that's brilliant. It gives you that full stack visibility in one place. But they also need to do apps and security. Yeah, there's no point in having another tool that does security and one that does all your apps. All that data's got to be in one place. So make sure you've got full visibility across everything.
Okay. And so, Bruno, if I can go back to you, there's a question for you here. So what are 3 things that are unique about Sumo Logic and really distinguish your company, capability, and offerings on AWS?
Okay, that's a topic we could talk for quite a bit of time on, but let me try to summarize it. I think, one of the things that we don't talk a lot about is that we have been running our customer-facing mission-critical service for a decade on AWS, right? So we've actually, we dog food our own technology. So we are the first customer zero of everything we build. We have the concerns that most of our customers do, which is performant, reliable, secure applications. We have sensitive data underneath our technology. And so we run and use what we do. We have sort of been pioneering and adopting a lot of these technologies that many of our customers are adopting today for quite a bit of time. And we have actually taken all of the knowledge and understanding of how we use them, what concerns we have, how we need to manage them and secure them, and built them into the best practices in our own service that our customers use. And so that sort of like feedback loop that we have and run on is really important. Second, we have a really deep partnership with AWS, and we collaborate very closely. We are always in beta programs, so we actually co-develop a lot of the technologies that serve AWS customers in collaboration with AWS. And last but not least, I would say that this new release that we just had, that Andy had covered a little bit, the AWS Observability end-to-end observability solution for AWS services, which has technologies that understand AWS, detect anomalous behaviors, are able to determine cause and effect, laid out in an intuitive way so that you can actually say, okay, oh no, it's not, the problem isn't actually originating in my database, it's in my load balancer because I'm misconfigured it and whatever it is, to really help you short circuit that analysis and understanding and being able to restore your application service. So I think those are the things that I think matter to our customers. And I would say, besides many others that I could talk about, those are core.
All right. Great. So Andy, last question, I think for you, we might just be running slow on time, but let's see. So, from your perspective, when you think about a modern architecture and you think about containers, microservices, and service mesh, how do you see DevOps really advancing and progressing?
It's a hard question.
Yeah.
I guess I almost look at it two different ways. I think for startups, it'll be quite progressive, and I think for more traditional businesses, it's going to be quite hard because things are progressing so quickly and change tack so quickly. You get, as we've seen in DevOps, you get flavor of the month technologies that go mad, and just disappear into the sunset, and you're following them like mad, and you're trying to keep up. And I think for the startups, it's a lot easier than for the traditional businesses. I think. If the startups have the advantage where the business transformation is almost there already. I think the traditional businesses need the business transformation almost first before they can embrace the journey. And I think ripping up the rule book on teams and cracking on with delivering a multifunctional team as well as multifunctional tools is really the way it's going to go. I'm excited personally about things like open telemetry. I think that's really going to be good, and we're looking to do that next. From a Snoop point of view, I think involving more our app mesh and our service mesh technology with Cloud Map from AWS, so that we can get more self-healing, more blue-green deployment, and easier blue-green deployment. More access to Lambda from within the mesh and things like that. I think that's exciting as well. So I think that's what I'm looking for. Bigger DevOps, it's harder to say. It really does sometimes just depend, I think, on the marketing and where everyone's looking to put their interest.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of things that are exciting on the horizon that you're going to be considering, but what's the next top thing that you're going to be, what's like the next big step in your DevOps, DevSecOps journey that you're going to be taking on?
Alerting out of more things, so covering some of the gaps that we've got already. We've got a lot of alerting, but there's more alerting we need to do. I think more business alerting, more KPIs for the business would be really good. More SDO stuff around. We're not committing changes until the performance of the tests are at least the same as last time we checked it in. And putting blockers into the SDLC pipeline that says, okay, we're going to make sure we've got KPIs for deployments and technology features as well as other things we're doing for services. So I think there's a lot coming. I think there's a lot to do. I think the tools we've got will really help us do that.
Awesome. All right. So thanks everyone again for joining us today. So this is pretty much the end of our webinar. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we will be responding to your other questions, the ones that we were not able to get to. But I want to leave you with this here. If you'd like to learn more about running containers on AWS, we have some resources for you to do that. And then of course, if you want to learn more about using Sumo Logic on AWS, we have some resources here for you, as well as a free trial offer. And of course, AWS also has a free tier for you to leverage. And so thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.